What is up, YouTube team? Happy New Year! It's nice to see you guys this year. We are here for a nice live session to start off 2026 trading. I hope everybody's 2026 trading has been great so far. The Mavericks have started up hot in the Simpler Trading website. So, Simpler Trading under Stock Mavericks is where you can find my community. We're actually live today, and like we are every single trading day, and we've already got a position. So, we'll see if we can get some more. I'll show you the position we got here, and then we'll move on and I'll explain to you what I look for with my overnight plays. But glad to be here, blessed to be here with you guys for a new year of trading. It's actually my 10th year of trading, which is pretty amazing here. But if you look back, we so far got some ZNOG. I actually added a little more, so I'm up to 20,000 shares. We're trying to get some more ZNOG, and we got it at 255 on this dip. We also got some back here before it took that dip. I could have sold about when I was up 150, but I think we're going to look for the gap up and the possible breakout. And that is the one stock we're in. But I want to dive into my overnight watch list because that's where I start my personal power hour every single day. Even before I had a community 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when I was just doing it with me, my best friend, and my twin brother, we still made this overnight watch list. And what it is, I always like to put 5 stocks for possible opportunities overnight. And I list those stocks with risk levels and support levels. And now those are key levels we use as our cut and hopefully as a spot that we could take profit. So here's the list. I've already created it with my team. We go live together at 2:45. So we've already been reviewing the list together. But if we go up all the way, we'll go to the most recent one, which is today's overnight watch list. And here we go. So what I'm explaining here, if you're new, is the stock and then the pattern of the stock. I only trade 5 patterns. So it's like pattern recognition, like when you were younger, doing almost like stuff in kindergarten, trying to find patterns, shapes. This is very similar, just the money on the line. And once you could beat that kind of instinct with money on the line, then, as long as you stick to the rules, it becomes kind of obviously not emotionless, but it does become part of a structure. And that's really what 2026 is big for me. I really want to stay to a structure every single day. So here we go. So first one, ZNOG, we've already got some here. We talked about it. I'll make it a little bigger so you can see it. Actually, let me pull up another screen. I'll bring in this screen here. And we'll go side by side with the watch list. It looks like we got a little decent crew here today. We got a nice crew online. What's up, team? If anybody has a question or anything, let me know. What we're doing right now is going over what I do every single day in the Simpler Trading Stock Mavericks room. There's actually a $7 trial right now for the new year if you wanted to try us out. But this is my 5 stocks I'm possibly looking for an overnight gap up. Usually what I do is I try to get in with a good spot and then hopefully in the morning, or even if we push enough by the afternoon, we keep going. And the first one I got is no coincidence. It's an oil stock. Why is that no coincidence? Well, if you don't live under a rock and live anywhere in this planet, so as long as you don't live in space, you've known what's been going on recently with America and Venezuela. And that has caused oil stocks and energy stocks to start moving. And that movement we got right now coming in, oh no, this is iRobot, sorry. In this oil stock, I was like, whoa, ZNOG. So this is an oil stock. You've seen it has big runs in the past. Now we're looking for it to do a move that I've played over and over again. And you can go to my YouTube after this session if you want to check out those patterns. But these patterns are patterns I've actually been trading for over 10 years now. And it's just rinse and repeat at this point. I've kind of dimmed it down to find the ones that work for me. And then I just try to repeat those. That's always the goal. So right now, my favorite one is this oil stock. Now, you have to be a little bit aware that it's coming up to a key resistance level. I mean, it got rejected here at 27 and here. Right now, though, oil is the talk of the town. So all I'm looking for is I've already got my position at 255. As long as I can stick to 2-5 cut, I know it's a penny stock, and a lot of people would say penny stocks are very risky. It's scary to take penny stocks overnight. As long as you stick to your cut, getting in at 255, 256, and selling at 25, even if we end up losing, that's only 2%. And to keep your losses small and your winners big is exactly how I was recently able to cross over that big point of 500K in profit. So if you ever want to follow my whole journey since 2015, you can actually go to profit.ly and then follow Stock Snipers under it. But nice run it's been, and we just crossed over the big 500K in profits here. So let's see what else we got besides Znog. iRobot's the next one, a little more risky because it's a bankrupt stock. Whenever a stock has a Q on it, that means it's a bankrupt stock. So I'd say this one is more, I got to make sure it holds. You can go after at 2.5, but if you zoom out, it looks like the chart just started, but it didn't. If you actually zoom out to IRBT, this is the chart. It went from 5 down to 40, and now it keeps dropping. So we'll keep an eye on that IRBTQ. It's a little more riskier, so I'm not the biggest fan of it. One I do like is HGRAF. So Znog and HGRAF are one I do like. These are 2 OTCs. So I just named 3 OTCs. The rest of my stocks are going to be listed, so I don't only trade OTCs. But I find if HGRAF breaks 220 here, it should be able to keep going. I watched it here not break 220. We actually played it on this day, and I watched it here not be able to follow up. So 2 times in a row, I've now watched it. If it's able to follow up, then I will start to think that we're going to be able to follow up and go all the way to 250, 240 area. So what I mean by follow up, just get above 220 and hold that spot. I always say the breakout means if you break out, you should get above that spot and then hold that spot. Those are usually good intentions of the possible breakout and follow-up play. And that's what we're looking for in HGRF. A little bonus on top. Most of my profit comes from sector momentum. And something I really, starting this year, I've been trading 10 years now. So I can't emphasize enough that I would say about 30% of the year is where most of my money comes from. And the other 70%, you still have to show up every day, but you have to be a little more patient and not attack as hard. And right now is to go after, but last week when, nothing was going on for the New Year's and the week before that, it was probably better to sit on the sidelines. So understanding when to kind of hold back is very, very important, and then when to swing is very help out when to swing. The pattern is always number one. I try to find the pattern and the risk level. If those 2 things are lining up, that puts me in place to do something overnight. But the last thing I look for that is a bonus on top is news, and if it has sector momentum. If those 2 things are on top of possibility of this pattern, usually it can extend more. And this one does have the news. So you can see at 8 o'clock, it came out with news that's a collaboration through Tier 1 membership. I'm not exactly understanding. I could read a little more into it. It's no big news in my opinion, but it is news. So we'll keep an eye on that HGRAF. And then the last couple of ones that we got are listed stocks. I actually have a little bonus one here today too. But we have an energy stock because oil stocks and energy stocks have been hot since everything that's been going on. NFE looks pretty primed to gap up. It has gapped up in the past. This, even though it's red, this is technically a gap up from 150 all the way to 160. This one's a gap up 140. It hit 165. So even though these days are red, they're gapping up still, and who knows what can happen after hours. So I think NFE is not a horrible one to watch, especially because it is a sector. It's like Znog. It's kind of like it's creating a pattern, but it's also in this sector. The sector hasn't really done anything too crazy, but it's definitely what everybody's paying attention to right now is energy and oil stocks. So that's the 4th one I'm looking at. And then the last one is SLS. And I'm a little upset about SLS because this comes from my morning watch list. And on the morning watch list, we wanted to short it. If we caught the short this morning, it would have fell from 5 down to 4. I probably would have covered like around here, but it fell all the way to 360. So 3,500, 3 grand would have made you almost $1,000 on a short. 3,500, you would have made $1,000 on that short, and that's really how you grow an account. A $3,500 account turns into 4,500, and then that just keeps growing, and you compound from there. So it's all about just trying to find those 10 to 15% winners, in my opinion, and continuing to grow that. And that's what we're going to try to do here in the last 45 minutes of the day, which my power hour is usually the last hour. But since we have the YouTube team here today, we're a little delayed. The bonus play I do have is SKYQ, and it's holding 50 cents pretty nicely all day, or 48. I actually cracked 50, so a little harder to read, but it is holding. If it holds up, you'd have to probably use that wider risk, but it is a nice play for a possible follow-up, and we will see what happens there. That's the bonus one, though. These 5 are really my main ones, and the goal is always to buy as close to the support as possible, and then hopefully to sell above the resistance. So that's always the goal when it comes to trying to play these plays. And I usually look for 10% or more, and I don't usually enter a stock that's I try not to enter ones that aren't going to give me that opportunity. Or if it's one that gives me less opportunity, I usually know that right away. For those of you guys that are wondering if the pattern's been consistent, you can always go to my Profitly and check it out. I'll also show you this one trade we took over the weekend that was really nice, GPUS. It was a pretty clear one green day to the next. And then we sold it for a good profit overnight. It was actually $1,200. And we were able to get it at the end of the day, just like we liked. There was a support level of 26. It dipped close to that area. We got in at 27, and it ended up falling all the way to 33. We sold at 315. I got back in at 29, and then I sold again at 315. So that was a nice little journey that we kind of went through with GPUS, and that's what we look for day in and day out. Try to rinse and repeat. There are also morning opportunities like SLS this morning. We just missed it. But to be able to hit the one morning opportunity and the one afternoon opportunity is usually my goals here. That's what will make me happy overnight or every day. And midday for me is usually a time I kind of set back and I don't get as aggressive. And midday is usually, I'd say, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern all the way until right around 3 p.m. I'd say 2:30 p.m. Alrighty, so we got now 20 or 40 minutes left in the day. We're 20 minutes pretty much into power hour. Usually the last 30 minutes, in my opinion, is where I really get aggressive. But we did get our starters so far in ZNOG. That's the only one. iRobot, you can take the dip if you really like. I'm not in love with the spread. Also not in love with that as a bankrupt company. We were looking at it yesterday, and that really followed up. Today it still has a good chance to, but it's also a second day. Today also, but the volume today is a lot better than yesterday. I almost wish I got in right there earlier and just sold on that run. It would have been easier to not hold the bankrupt stock overnight. And then this NFE, I think I got to keep watching too. If it gets any type of dip, I'm going to try some of it. I won't go too heavy in it, but with that 120 cut, I think it looks pretty good to possibly follow up there. So now what I kind of coined myself, and why I have my YouTube, my social media, my Instagram, my Twitter is Stock Sniper Team. Why I call it all Stock Snipers is because that's kind of what me and my community coined ourselves all the way back in 2015 when we first started. But also because of this moment right here. You know, we got a list of stocks. We pretty much have our targets out there. Now the goal is to take advantage of those targets. So I kind of just sit back and wait. And that's exactly what a sniper would do, even though I've never really done something like that before. And yeah, we're going to kind of just wait. When we do attack, we attack, and we just stick to the plan. So that's what we're doing. We've already started, like I said, with ZNOG. The other one I do like is HGRAF with this news. And then NFE if it dips a little bit. iRobot's a little harder to trust, but we'll see what we get here. Looks like Tesla should be pinned around 450. Let's see. Someone's talking Tesla. Speaking of Tesla, this is an EV stock. I usually like to watch this EV stock for possible follow-ups because how much it's been down. Wow, Tesla keeps coming down. I do. I don't know. I think 420 might be the spot if anything. Markets are so strong and Tesla's popping down 4%. It just kind of shows you that Tesla is a little bit disconnected than the market, which is all right, but harder for me to read. I usually like to go after patterns that I know are consistent for me. And this is technically could be lining up with that first green day, but not yet. So not really anything for me there, but I see what you're looking at. I see definitely what you're looking at there. What else do we have? Do we have any other questions or tickers? Looks like we have a nice crew here in the chat room. I love to see that. Nick looking at that HGRAF. We already got some ZNOG. Hopefully we can continue to run. The bad thing about ZNOG that you got to be a little worried about is 265 had a huge seller, or 263, I mean, had a huge seller. It was like 300K. I don't know if it's still there, but that's what caused that drop midday. So I always like to read level twos. If you aren't familiar of how my chart looks, what I have set up here is the time of sales, and you can click all these on the right part of your chart. So if you're wondering how to get these popped up, the time and sales is that little button right there. And for OTC stocks, usually why I like them is you can actually read them pretty nicely. If you go to a listed stock, it's going to be wild. Watch, which is okay. You just have to learn how to read them. I mean, one like Apple is going to be very hard to read. But something like that first red day, you'll kind of see stuff going through. So ZNOG, we'll go back to it. That's the time of sale. And then the next thing under that is going to be our level 2. And I always like to watch both of those. But the level 2, that's where I saw that there was a seller here at 263. It was like 350K. So iRobot is continuing to hold that that 25-cent spot, IRBTQ. Not a bad one to watch. And then after hours, I always like to have one for a possible big after hours runner. And that's going to be the Sky Q for me. If it keeps holding this 48 cents, it probably has some shorts really caught up here. If you look at this pattern, this is actually a pattern called the morning momentum play that I actually look to play. If you go back, BNAI is another one that just did that. There's actually a couple of them tomorrow that I'm looking for. So if you don't like anything tonight, the cool thing is I'm live again tomorrow morning with the community at 9:15, 9:20 a.m. Eastern. And there's a couple of them we're still watching for tomorrow to make this kind of move. VRME being one of them that keeps holding $1. PRZO, maybe. That one kind of died. And then EVTV is also a decent one that could, well, it fell down, but this is a good one to keep watching for possible move too. So we got our watchers for tomorrow to start up as well. iRobot's getting a dip. I don't know. It's a little too spread for me. I think I'm going to go a little safer overnight. If you want to get a little more risky, you can definitely do that. And then getting into the larger market, the QQQ and SPY looking good to start the new year. Love seeing the bounce there on QQQ, and SPY is new all-time highs, which is beautiful to see. Bitcoin got rejected at that 95K again. So 95 seems to be that spot it keeps getting hit at. If you are on Thinkorswim, you can actually do /BTC, and you can see Bitcoin's futures. A little bonus tip there. Also, another bonus tip about Thinkorswim. If you're looking at SLS and you want to short it and you don't like shorting, just do minus SLS and you can see it backwards. You can buy minus SLS, but just kind of showing you what I'm talking about. HCRF literally hasn't gone anywhere, so I really want to see it get above 220. Until it does that, I don't really believe that it's going to do it yet, so I got to wait, or else I probably would have been in it. but I think I can wait there. And then also big move was silver and gold today. So all the markets are bouncing, and then silver is coming back to all-time high. Oh, it did make all-time high, and so did gold. Oh no, gold's the one that didn't. Silver made all-time highs, but gold is right there. And that's on the ETF SLV for silver and the ETF GLD for gold. Now, yesterday, we do the same thing every single day. So if I go back to yesterday to today, I can show you that we had one that we liked that was gold that actually looked pretty good, NTCPF. We've played it before. And there's a textbook 52-week breakout. Gold's breaking out, NTCPF's breaking out. So that's why I say sector does help a little bit. Gold and silver don't really move as much. They're not really big runners, but this is how that shows a little bonus there with gold breaking out and then the sector also being pretty hot lately. All right. SkyQ is dipping a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people think that iRobot is sketchy, and I do think overnight is sketchy. I think we probably could have taken advantage of the move. Tomorrow I'll definitely be on the watch as well. It was on the morning watch list today. If it dips a little more and holds 23, maybe I'll try it for a gapper. But there are other bankrupt stocks that we've done really well with. Bed Bath & Beyond was a recent one. JCPenney was a one a while ago. So it's not like I haven't seen this Q at the end. Party City was another one. And they kind of all travel the same. The way I like to describe it is a pitcher playing baseball, and you are the hitter, and the stocks are the pitcher. And it's fun because when you start to know how to hit one pitcher really well, it's nice to see it come around again. And that's the same thing like bankrupt stocks. Like, oh, it came around again. That's also the same thing when you play stocks that you've played before. And Xenog's a stock I've played way back in the day. So it's like, oh, wow, this one's back. Nice to see. And that kind of gives me a little more confidence because I've done it. I know how it moves. Got a good understanding. But every stock is like a pitcher, and it's going to pitch differently. So it's also important to understand that. Some are going to move really quick. Some are going to move slower. And I always try to take literally one or two stocks overnight. The reason why I only put 5 on the overnight watch list is because I don't want to get too overwhelmed when it comes to trying to take something overnight. And if you have all 5 overnight, it's going to be really overwhelming. If you've taken 5 things overnight out there before, you know exactly what I mean. And trust me, I've definitely done it. Definitely done it. UURAF. This is a metal stocks. Metal stocks are holding. TLOFF's another metal stock. Pretty excited. Today I'm actually heading down to right around downtown Disney. I'm actually in Orlando right now. And I'll be meeting some of the Simpler Trading team. So like I said earlier, I'm live every day in the Simpler Trading room. It's under Stock Mavericks. We're live twice a day looking for buys and sells. We've had a great start to the year. If you zoom out to all the alerts here since the start of the year, pretty much the 31st, that's not the start. So here we go, the second. We ended up taking both DFLI and GPUS. DFLI actually pushed way more, but we sold it too early. But we sold them both for a win. GPUS in the same day, and then we got back in it. And then we did the same thing yesterday. ABAT was a win. SES not that big. But still, that's kind of what we're looking to do, rinse and repeat. So if you are busy throughout the day, just looking to try to add something to your arsenal, not a bad place to check us out for the new year. So iRobot's dipping more. I'm definitely going to stay away from that unless it gets back down to like 2 3. And even at that, I don't know. That's a little more risky. I think that's more of a day trade throughout the day, which I missed that opportunity in my opinion. I'm looking more towards NFE and HDREF. Xenog, I'll try to add some more if it dips, but NFE and HDREF are my next two that I think I like as my victims. SkyQ, I'll watch after hours. That's one that I got to keep watching, but the range on it is so wide. If it comes back to 48 again, maybe if it holds that spot, but pretty wide range. Not in love with that. Makes it a little more risky, and I like stocks that have a set risk. So let's see if iRobot can hold. Right now is more the patience. I know you kind of want to do stuff when you're sitting here watching green and red flicker all day, but it's important for you to kind of wait for your key spots, at least the way that I like to trade. And if you don't have to be sitting in front of your screens all day. I was actually I went to the gym midday, but the good thing about being at the gym is I trade through my phone a lot of the times. And with Thinkorswim's app, it is really good and very accessible through your phone. I actually started trading all the way back in 2016, and I had a full-time job when I first started at a gym, and I used to have to kind of sign people up and sign people in. And one of the classes was literally right at 4 o'clock. I'll never forget. So people would start showing up at 3:30, literally right now, my favorite time to trade. So I found a way around it. So a lot of people kind of use that excuse as, oh, I'm trading, I don't have enough time, or like I'm at work. Well, there's ways around it. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. But this game is also people that want it bad enough. That's a big part about this too. You put in whatever you put in is what you're probably going to get out of it. That's kind of what I like to describe it. But that's anything in life. Like I have a one wheel, and now I can ride it almost on anything, and I ride it around the city a lot downtown. And a lot of people are like, "Wow, that is talent." And it took me years to get to where I'm at, but I'm sure people think you just get on and figure it out. And that's usually what a lot of people expect. So, not to be the burden of bad news, if you're new here, this is probably something that's not going to happen overnight. But the cool thing is, if you take time with it, you can gain a skill that would literally last forever. You just have to have money to make money. That's the skill. And it's pretty cool. You can kind of make money just pop up out of the blue. Like we did over the weekend. We just popped $1,500 up out of a $7,000 position. So it wasn't even a huge position either. It was just a size that can definitely get going your account if you have a smaller account. All right, we got 28 minutes left here. Let's see. I'm kind of staying for the patience, staying for the patience, staying for the patience. I want to see if NFE could dip a little bit. I actually do like that one. Like when I bring up NFE, it kind of does remind me of GPUS. All right, let's see if HCRF could break that 220 spot. All right. So we are in the last 30 minutes now. And this is where I kind of like to get a little more aggressive. With ZNOG, I'm fine because I got some size there. It's really just NFE and HGRAF. What do we want there? What do we want out of it? So that's what we gotta have to figure out. I want a dip. That's exactly what I want, but we'll see if it gives it to us. This KRKNF, I think, is lining up for a big OTC breakout soon. If you look at it, it's got that consolidation day right at breakout. So 1 or 2 more days like this, and I think this week you're going to get something big there while we sit here and wait for these other plays to set up. And honestly, if you do want to take that short of SLS, that's still not a bad one. So KRKNF, put it on your watch list if you don't have it on your watch list yet. That's for the future. But SLS, this is technically a first red day. Will it be able to come back up? I mean, it did fill the gap. And I usually like to say that stocks don't usually have gaps. So that filled. You would have to, think you use, doesn't even have a good cut. I guess 420. It has stayed below VWAP all day. The only time it popped above it was this morning. What a weak day for that stock. And great call on that first red day. It was the number one stock on the morning watch list. It was the only one we really said that we were watching, but we were dealing with 2 plays overnight. And then we had SLS on there. And then look at iRobot. That was on there as well. So HGRAF got rejected at 220 once again. Nothing new there. iRobot's holding this 247 spot once again. It's pretty interesting to see that continue to hold over and over and over again. The longer that keeps holding, the better. I mean, if it's the last 10 minutes and it's still doing that, that starts to become a possibility. Right now, I'm not really. I'm waiting for Bitcoin. I do think we're going to get a nice Bitcoin movement soon. Back above 95K. Once it breaks 95K, I think we're going back to 100. And maybe that can get some of these Bitcoin stocks to wake back up. That's what I'm looking for. All right, let's see. Does anyone have any questions or tickers or anything that they want to possibly talk about here in the last 20 minutes of the day? Like I said, we only got our ZNOG fills. The only ones we're trying to look for too is HGRAF and NFE. NFE is listed, so NFE I can wait. I can literally wait for after hours if it never dips. And then if it never dips, you don't have to force anything. You are your own boss. I highly recommend not going after it if it doesn't have the right risk level. So I know you could still use 120 as your risk, but if you're taking it at 130, that's almost 10%. I don't think that's worth it. So I like to set myself up every single day with that the opportunity, and that opportunity has that plan. And the plan always has a risk level on the way down, which I say 5 to 10%. I usually risk 10% if it's a riskier or a penny stock, but typically 5%. And then on the upside, I look for 10 to 15%. If it's a riskier stock, I possibly look for a little more. Let me see if I have the pictures of it. I used to have pictures of it. Hold on. Let's keep watching this HGRAF here as it continues to creep. I want to see a break first, honestly. But I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on it, ready to possibly attack. Here, let me pull up that plan I was talking to you guys about, because I actually have it written down on my computer too. I should print it out and just put it right in front of me. But I've been doing it so long, I kind of print this picture in my head every time I enter a trade. So here is it. You have that risk level of usually 5, that reward level of 15. Above this is greed, below this is hold and hope, and in the middle is the plan. And that's every trade. I try to do that. If it's sector momentum or has news or something, I'll risk a little more. Like iRobot, you'd have to risk a little more just because of the kind of stock it is. But mine is 10% for 25%. You usually make a little more, or 20%. And then the last one would be options. And I don't do options as much, but you also have to risk a little more for options. But typically, every time I enter something, so if you look at HGRAF, this would be 215, but it's only like 2% you'd lose. And on the upside, you'd hope it breaks 220 and goes to like 230 or 40. So that's like 10%, 15%. And this is only like 3%. So it's slightly adjusted, but usually you want a 3-to-1 ratio. All right, so we got 20 more minutes. And then, like I said, I'll be getting ready and heading down to downtown Disney, hanging out with some of the simpler team. I'm pretty excited for that. We'll be hanging out. Always nice to see traders in person. We are humans, and a lot of people, we're sitting in front of the screens all day, looking at nothing. Nah, we're looking at money being made, but the social part is definitely lacking, and I'm definitely a big social person, so I always love getting together. It looks like we ran into a big seller. So maybe that 300K that was sitting at 263 moved down to 261. This is key to notice. If this can't break, that starts to become a worrisome for tomorrow. If it can break, that's definitely a good sign that we could possibly follow up later. So there's two ways to look at this, but this is how I like to look at level twos. In HTRAF, like I said, I need a pop back above 220 in my opinion. NFE, I want to dip. Come dip to us. I'll be watching NFE after hours as well. Same with SLS. I'll be watching this after hours. Maybe it gets a pop we can short into. But I try to just make sure I have the right risk levels. And the right risk levels here aren't really there yet for at least NFE in those. Nice to see we got a nice community here today. Looks like a good amount of people. The new year started to bring some new people in, which is nice. Welcome to the team. Don't ever feel like, any question's a dumb question. Everybody was always in your shoes at one point, so don't forget about that. And you can always reach out to me individually if anybody ever needs personal questions or just like individual questions. They're scared. Just click this little button. It's a private chat. I mean, sometimes I'm busy throughout the middle of the day, but I definitely will get to it. If you are free tomorrow in the middle of the day, what's up, Travis? Hey, nice to see you in here, man. We were actually just chatting yesterday. Looks like you've made your way to the room. Nice to see you here. But if you're free tomorrow, every single Wednesday, I do my webinar Wednesday, and we review, last week slightly, and then we also go over possible opportunities and sectors for the next week. So I do that every Wednesday at 12:30 to 2. So if you're free tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern to 2 o'clock, you can come join me in the Simpler Showcase room. If you have a membership to the Stock Mavericks room, you also have a membership to the Simpler Showcase room. So come check me out at 12:30 until 2 p.m. It's actually a great place to be if you are a trader throughout the middle of the day and you sit in front of the screens. I don't think sitting in front of the screens is terrible. I do think, you should step away just to kind of get your mind right. But if you're at the beginning of your career, the more reps you get in basketball, the better it is. The same thing as in trading. Not saying to go out there and trade, but at least reps as in watching plays like SLS. Just watching plays happen. As much as you might be upset you're not in it, to watch it and notice it is big, especially when you're recording it in the morning and saying, okay, this could possibly happen. So try not to beat yourself up if you're not in it, but that is reps in the gym technically. In the stock market, it's a little different. It's not really like you're shooting baskets and sweating. You're more just stressed out sitting in this chair with a weird spine because you're sitting with the back. So I got to start standing more. Yeah, I've been trying to work on that. I'm trying to fix all that stuff. But I love trading. I wouldn't do anything else. Honestly, I can't see myself doing anything else. There was a couple points in my life that I thought I would try something else, but I just can't see it yet. I can't see it. Obviously, down the road, I do think that it is a stepping stone for me. That's way down the road, but I do think trading, you don't just hold all your money in your accounts. Eventually, when you start to grow it, you put it out in different places. Property is a nice place, different spots, different areas, but you got to grow the account first. So that's kind of the process we're in for 2026. Last year, I hit some big accomplishments, not only in the stock market with that 500K, but my personal life. I got engaged, and that was pretty much fully funded from trading. I threw a big engagement party, got a really nice ring, all the above. Pretty much the stuff I've always wanted to do. And it was nice because I always was telling myself, like, oh, I don't know if I have the money for it. But that was a nice little rally. And during that rally, if you weren't with me, if you guys remember this, there was a couple of you guys that were with me. I actually ran into a 10K drawdown too. Pretty much a little bit, almost as much as her ring. And yeah, that was crazy. So even though I ran into that drawdown, I have notes and everything of how I kind of got out of that. So if you're ever sitting here wondering, I just got a terrible loss. What should I do? What should I think of? Take a walk probably first, but this is not a bad place to go. The drawdown bounce back. And this happened right before I was about to get the wedding ring. And I had to get the wedding ring by June because that's when I was going to do it. And this happened in March. So it was an $8,000 loss in one account, and then it was a $2,100 loss in the other account. But I completely bounced back in a month. It was actually amazing. And you can see that whole journey here, as well as on Profitly. I'll show you the big drop here. You can kind of see it in the curve. It happened right there. Boop. Boop. But you can see it kind of recovered right after, which was nice. And things have been really hot. And honestly, I do think this next year is going to be really hot as well. So keep your seatbelts buckled up. Even if we don't end up winning overnight here, this is a marathon. This is not, a sprint. It's not just about making money overnight. It looks like that big seller did come back. So there was 300K sitting at 263 earlier. And that's what caused this sell-off. And that's how I was able to add more. Was that a good ad? I don't know yet. We'll find out for sure by tomorrow or definitely within the next 13 minutes. But I do think that seller's still there. So you have to be a little worried about that tomorrow. Unless it goes through that seller in the last couple of minutes. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about this guy that's at 100K or girl and that one at 2603. It was at 263. That's what it used to be. And it was 300K. So at least it's gone maybe slightly down a little bit. I don't know. We're going to find out. But hopefully that doesn't cause a drastic fallout because that's what you also want to be a little nervous for. Is that going to cause like a big fall? At the end of the day, if it does, you just make sure you stick to your cut. And earlier, you got a mini fall and it just 25 is a good spot. 25 is also a spot I was waiting for it to break. And it broke that and it held that pretty cleanly. So we'll see. We only got 12 minutes left. Will we buy anything else? NFE is making new highs, which makes me really annoyed. It didn't really offer any dips at all besides this little part right here before power hour started. So, I could have got in there. I'm going to wait. Maybe after hours we get a little bit of a dip. And then the other one is HGREF. I'm still watching very closely. I probably wasn't going to get this one too. But this I could wait for the last couple of minutes. And then SLS was that short we talked about. So this is another one we can watch after hours too. I'm in the East Coast, so these do close at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm kind of going to be a little busy in downtown Disney, but I'll definitely check my phone around 6:37 and see what's going on. iRobot's dipping, so good patience there. That's kind of why I said that one's a little more sketchier. If it does go to 22 area, this is technically the support. If you really want it, if you really like it, this is where you would take it. I don't like it overnight, so I'm going to stay away. But like I said, if you do like it, this is the dips you want to buy into. But for me, I'm going to stay away. It's a little too spread too. I don't like the action there. Let's zone into NFE and HGREF. NFE, I think, is going to keep going. I'll have my alerts here just in case it comes back down. Don't think it will, but maybe after hours. That big seller keeps moving down for Xenog, which is not the best thing. Can we hold up here? Let's see. And then HGREF is that last one. We have 10 minutes left for HGREF. So 10 minutes left. For HGREF, I'm going to actually start putting a limit in there and try to catch possibly a dip into this close. If not, I'm just going to kind of take this spot here. We're going to have to stick to 215 cut, but it's showing pretty strong movement here. Still getting rejected at 220 here over and over, but it is there right at that spot. Watching it very closely here. Let's see. It's a slower one, so I'm not expecting a jackpot here. It's also got, not the big, like a little bit smaller risk. But you can't win without putting yourself in the position to win. And that's really what every day, showing up every day is about. So we're still holding, but no real move yet. iRobot came down. It is holding that 2-4 spot. If you like iRobot, I'm going to stay away from that one. NFE finally offered a small dip, but it's only 1 cent. I need a little more than that. But if we do come down, I'll take some more. And like I said, I'll be watching this after hours too. So we'll see if that can kind of come down a little bit. So, didn't get any. It's got sellers, but it's also not pushing down, which is a good sign. All right, we got 7 minutes left here. Let's get back to HGREF. Oh. So HGRF is running to those sellers once again. Every time it kind of gets to this spot. Tomorrow, if we gap up above it, sometimes that's what it needs to do its thing. So I don't mind kind of getting myself in here since there's only 5 more minutes. I just don't want it to dip below 215 right before I buy it. So I'm trying to wait for the last couple of minutes. We only have 6 minutes left. And then that ZNOG, I'm just going to stick with what I got. I'm not going to add more to it just because it's kind of just sitting there. It didn't really break it, unless it breaks in the last couple of minutes, ZNOG. But right now it's not. It's kind of just holding there. So not really much coming out of it. That big seller is just holding it down, which is not the best. But let's see if we can get the rest into here. But we do have ZNOG for an overnight play. We have that 255 average. And we'll play that with the 2.5 cut. Looking for a gap up. If it does gap up, this will be the next big spot we want it to break. And if it breaks there, we'll see how we deal with it. If it has a hard time there, we might sell it. And then if it gaps down below 25, we also got to get out. It's having a hard time at that 26 spot right now. But HGRAF is going to be our focus here in the last 5 minutes. I'm going to buy some for the possible gapper in the push. So be ready for some HGRAF buy. It's going to be in the last couple of minutes. So just wait for it. And the longer, why I like to wait longer, because the longer you wait, the more confident you can feel about that support, that it's been holding that support for so long. It just touched that spot and then it came right back down. That's so funny. Here we go. Let's see if it can break. So we got some at 219. I'm going to put more limits in, and we're just going to try to get as much as we can into the close. This 220 break would be beautiful here. Move it up a little bit. NFE is dipping slightly, so I will watch NFE after hours. All right, we're going after this HGREF. All right. So we're about to get the last little bit of this HGREF. CNOG is still holding even though it dipped. And then NFE is a good watcher. I think I'm going to probably grab some after hours if it dips a little more. I'll keep watching that NFE. We got 2 minutes left, 2-minute warning. HGREF there. So both HGRF and Xena are going to be our ones. iRobot actually tried to hold that dip, so it's holding 25 cents. Got that small little dip at the end of the day. Can't really trust that. NFE I'll be watching after hours. I might buy that after hours, so keep an eye out on that one. We got 1 minute left here. Will it break this 220 spot, or is it going to have to wait for a possible gap up tomorrow? ZNOG also is kind of just sitting there. As long as it doesn't come back to 25, we're good. Last 40 seconds. Thank you guys for showing up to my live with me. It's been fun. We got 20 seconds left. So HDRS is going to close right here. It looks like at this spot. Xenog didn't really cross the spot I really wanted it to, but it's okay. NFE, keep an eye after hours for a possible move. And that is the bell. So it didn't quite cross it, but it did close right there. And it's got news. So as long as we look, we're going to be looking for that gap up tomorrow. Xenog as well didn't really do much, but it did have a nice green day. And if we could follow up tomorrow, that's all we're asking for. So both OTC stocks we went with, the listed stocks are still decent watchers after hours. Watch NFE. It dips slightly, so maybe if we can get some around 125 using, 120 as cut, that really dims our risk down a lot. So I'll be watching that, and then SLS for that first red day. If it gets a bounce after hours, I'll keep an eye on that. Other than that, that's really how we're going to close out today. Great work today, guys. Glad to be able to share this power hour with you. I'm going to try to start doing these on Tuesdays. We'll see. Some of them I'll probably miss, but be on the lookout for that. Enjoyed it, YouTube team. Also enjoyed it, Maverick team. We're up so far in the year. 2 green days in a row. We'll see if we can make it a third tomorrow. Hit that subscribe button if you did like this session, and check us out in the Simpler Trading Stock Mavericks room where we trade every day.